All right. Mic check, mic check. All right, here we are. Got the background figured out a little bit too. Wonderful. All right, sorry for a little bit of a delay. Just got some seasonal allergies going on, and they kind of sent me back a little bit. All right, let's get right to it. The presentation is there. So let me check out the chat. Perfect. Everyone is there. All right, so the chat is live as well. So if there are any of you that would like to ask me a question or something, please feel free to do so. All right, got everything set up. Let's begin. Bring this back. All right, so welcome once again. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. My name is, most of you probably already know, Stan. I'm a partner in client solutions executive at Cleverence, and today we're going to walk through one of the probably most important transformations that any operations-driven business goes through: the journey from paper to automation. So if you're running a warehouse, a distribution operation, a manufacturing floor, or a multi-location retail business, this session is going to map out step by step how companies move from paper-based chaos to fully connected, intelligent operations. And more importantly, where they get stuck along the way. So if you're just joining us, drop your name and where you're tuning in from in the comments. Love seeing where everyone is coming from. And let's get into it. And before we move on, let me give you some background about myself. So quick context here. I've spent more than 10 years in warehouse and inventory management automation. That means I've personally been on site in real warehouses with real teams working through real implementations, not just selling software, but actually building the workflows that make it function. I've worked across wholesale, dealerships, manufacturing, and e-commerce retail. Every one of those industries handles inventory differently, of course. But the patterns of how they break and how they get fixed are surprisingly consistent. That's what I want to share with you today. My goal here isn't to pitch you software, it's to give you a clear, honest framework for thinking about your own operation, wherever it is on the journey from paper to full automation. So here's the roadmap to today's session. Let's take a look at that. We'll start with the hidden cost of paper, the real measurable damage that manual processes do to a business, even when nobody notices it on a spreadsheet. Then we'll look at why automation becomes not just helpful, but necessary at a certain scale. From there, we'll walk through the actual barcode transformation journey, the specific sequence of steps that companies take when they move from paper to digital. We'll cover mobile and ERP connected operations, which is where most of the real efficiency gains happen. And we'll look at business impact and ROI. So, what these changes are actually worth in money and in operational capacity. We'll touch briefly on the future, RFID, IoT, AI, so you understand where this journey is heading. And we'll close with a real world success story, plus a free PDF guide that we'll be sending out to everyone who attended. So 8 sections, roughly about 45 minutes, lots of practical takeaways. So let's start with the foundation. And the foundation looks just like this. This single line on the screen is the map of today's entire session: paper, barcode, mobile, ERP, automation. This is the path. Every business that ends up running efficient, modern operations passes through these 5 stages in this order. Some companies move quickly through them. Others get stuck on one stage for years without actually realizing it. And here's the important part: you can't skip these stages. I've seen companies try. I've seen businesses try to jump straight from paper to a full ERP rollout or straight from spreadsheets to AI-driven analytics. It doesn't work. Each stage builds the foundation for the next one. Skip a step and the whole system becomes fragile. So as we go through today's session, I want you to ask yourself, which stage is my business actually on right now? Not the stage I think we're on or the stage we tell ourselves we're on, the stage we're actually operating at, because that's where the real conversation starts. Now, let's look at the pressure that's pushing every business along this specific path that we're talking about. The reason this journey isn't optional anymore comes down to 5 forces that every operations business is facing right now. First, faster customer expectations. Whether you're in B2B or B2C, your customers want shorter lead times, real-time order status, accurate delivery windows. The bar keeps moving. Second, rising operational complexity. More SKUs, more channels, more locations, more rules. Things that used to be simple aren't simple anymore. Third, labor shortages. Finding and retaining warehouse staff is harder and more expensive than it was 5 years ago, and the trend isn't seem to be reversing. Fourth, inventory pressure. Capital is expensive, so carrying inventory costs more. Stockouts cost even more. Getting that balance right has never been more critical. And fifth, the demand for real-time visibility. Customers, partners, internal managers, finance teams, everyone wants to know what's happening right now, not at the end of the day or the end of the week. So these 5 pressures, all at once, are what's making paper operations unsustainable. Let's look at why. Here's what happens inside a paper-driven operation. When operations run on paper, 5 of these things happen. And I would say it's happening every day, every shift, without any exceptions. Delays. Information has to physically travel. A picker writes something down, the paper goes to the office, someone enters it into the system, and only then does anyone know what happened. That can be hours. Human errors, quite a big one. Handwritings gets misread, numbers get transposed, people skip lines on a checklist, errors compound through the chain. Lost information, papers get misplaced. They fall off clipboards, they get coffee spilled on them, they go home in someone's pocket. Whatever the case might be, the data simply disappears. Slow updates, even when nothing goes wrong, the system updates at the speed of paper movement. By the time numbers are in, they are already stale. And of course, poor traceability. When something does go wrong, a wrong shipment, a missing item, there's no audit trail. You're essentially just guessing. Each of these is annoying on its own. Stacked together, they are the reason your operations can't scale. And the cost of all this isn't always obvious on a balance sheet. And let's take a look why. These costs don't show up as a line item in your accounting, but they bleed money continuously. And these are the hidden costs. Inventory accuracy. Most paper-driven warehouses operate at 80 to 85% accuracy, meaning 1 in every 6 numbers in your system is wrong. That affects purchasing decisions, planning, sales commitments, everything downstream. Order fulfillment. When picking lists are paper, when verification is manual, when confirmation depends on someone walking a slip back to the office, fulfillment is then, of course, slow and inconsistent. Then we have customer satisfaction. Wrong shipments, late deliveries, miscommunication on stock availability. These don't just cost you in returns. They cost you in trust. And in this market, trust translates directly into repeat business. Labor efficiency. Your team spends a huge portion of their day on tasks that add no value. Rechecking, recounting, transcribing, hunting for paperwork. That's wage cost going straight to waste. And operational scalability. The biggest hidden cost of all. A paper-based operation simply cannot grow without proportionally growing its headcount and its error rate. It hits a ceiling. Which brings us to a fundamental truth about manual operations. Um, these processes don't fail because the people are bad. Manual processes fail because of math. When your business grows, four things grow with it: transaction volume, so more orders, more shipments, more counts; complexity, more SKUs, more variants, more customer requirements; error exposure, every additional transaction is another chance for something to go wrong; and coordination problems, of course, more people, more shifts, more locations, all trying to stay in sync. A paper-based process can handle 100 transactions a day with 5% errors. That's manageable. The same process at 1,000 transactions a day, still at 5% errors, now means 50 mistakes every single day. That's not a problem you can fix by trying harder. It's a problem you can only fix by changing the system, the workflow that you're doing. This is the wall that every growing business eventually hits. The question is whether you see it coming or whether it sees you first, which leads us to a moment of decision, the turning point. Um, and essentially, there are only two roads from here. One on the left, keep managing the chaos, people, processes, data, technology, all moving in different directions, constant firefighting, days spent reconciling instead of building. Growth becomes pretty painful because every new order, every new SKU, every new hire adds friction instead of capacity. On the right hand side, we've built a connected operation. So people, processes, data, and technology working as one system in one direction. The team isn't fighting the operation anymore, the operation supports them. The hard part isn't choosing the right road. Everyone knows which one to pick. The hard part is actually walking this road. That's what the rest of this session is about, what the journey actually looks like, step by step. And before we get into the steps, let's define what we're actually walking toward. And let me clear something up here, because the word automation gets used so loosely that it has almost lost its meaning. Automation isn't robots. Automation isn't conveyor belts. It's in the context, most businesses actually care about it's these five things. So faster execution, tasks that used to take minutes now take seconds; real-time visibility, you know what's happening right now, not later; and standardized workflows, so every transaction follows the same defined steps regardless of who is doing it. Then we have connected systems. So your warehouse, your ERP, your WMS, whatever other systems you have, they're all speaking to each other. And lastly, operational intelligence, the ability to use the data your operation generates to make better decisions. That's a very big one right there. All of those combined, that's automation. It's not flashy, it's not science fiction, but when all five of these things are in place, the difference between an automated operation and a manual one is night and day. And here's how companies actually get there. Most of them evolve through five distinct stages, and I want to walk through each one of them with you in detail in the next few slides, because the journey itself is the most valuable thing you can take away from today. It starts with digitization, replacing paper records with digital ones. Then barcode adoption, adding identification and traceability. Then mobile workflows, so putting the system in the hand of the workers, the operators that are actually on the floor. Then ERP integration, connecting all of this to your central business system. And finally, intelligent operations, using all that data to make better decisions, optimize continuously, and prepare for technologies down the road like RFID, IoT, and AI. Each stage delivers value on its own, but the real transformation only happens when all five are in place. So let's go through them. And we have the step one, and that's the starting point, of course. And that is digitization. The goal here is simple: replace disconnected paper workflows with digital processes. And look at the flow on the screen. We have receiving, inventory, picking, shipping. These are the four core movements in any operations business. Every one of them, when done on paper, creates the delays and errors we just talked about. Digitization means the information is captured digitally at the point where it happens. It doesn't have to be sophisticated yet. It could be as simple as a basic data entry app on a tablet at the receiving dock. The point is, the data exists in digital form from the moment it's created, and it's accessible to anyone who needs it immediately. This step alone, without any other change, typically eliminates around half of the operational delay that paper processes introduce. It's not the most exciting step, but it's the one without which nothing else works. You can't barcode a process that's still being recorded on paper afterwards. The chain breaks, of course. And once you've digitized, you start to see something quite interesting. And almost every operations business I've worked with finds them in the same 5 places. And let's take a look at those. Receiving. Inbound shipments take too long to verify, register, and put away. Inventory counting. Physical counts disagree with the system. Reconciliation eats days of work. Picking. Orders take too long to assemble. Error rates are high. The team is constantly walking back to fix mistakes. Shipping. Outbound verification is slow. Wrong products get sent. Customers complain. And finally, reporting. By the time management knows there is a problem, the problem is already old. These 5 bottlenecks are where automation delivers the highest return. So the question becomes, which of these are hurting you the most right now? Because that's where you most likely should start. And the most effective starting tool for fixing these bottlenecks is now the barcode that we talked about just now. And this is where everything starts to change. A barcode is a small thing, a few black lines on a label, but operationally it's transformative. Barcodes create 4 things that paper can't. Speed. A scan takes a fraction of a second if the software is good. A handwritten line takes much, much longer. And that's before you count the data entry that has to happen afterwards. Accuracy. Scanning a barcode is essentially error-free, while manual data entry has a fundamental error rate that you can never train your way out of, unfortunately. Traceability. Every scan is time-stamped, of course, attributed to a user, attached to a location. You know who touched what, when, and where. And process control. The system can enforce the correct sequence. It can refuse to let someone ship the wrong item. It can require a verification scan before a transaction completes. The process becomes self-policing. And let me show you what one scan actually does. In the time it takes to hear a beep, 4 things happen at once within that one scan. The product is identified, so the system knows exactly what it is, no ambiguity. The transaction is validated in, is this the right item for this order, this location, this customer? The system confirms or rejects. Other systems are updated, so inventory counts shift, order status changes, downstream processes are triggered. And errors are reduced because the human didn't have to read, interpret, or type anything. One scan replaces an entire chain of manual steps. Multiply that by hundreds or thousands of transactions a day, and you start to see why barcode adoption is the single highest ROI operational change most businesses can make. It's not always the cheapest, it's not always the easiest, but it pays for itself faster than almost any other investment. And let me show you the before and after side by side. Let's take a look at that. This is the operational picture. So before, we have manual entry. Someone reads a number off a box and types it into a system or writes it on a slip that someone else types in later. Multiple opportunities for errors. After, instant scanning. Point, click, done. No reading, no typing, no slip. Before, delayed updates. The system reflects what happened hours ago, sometimes a full shift ago. Decisions get made on a stale data. And after we have everything set up, we have real-time sync. The moment a scan happens, the data is in the system. Decisions get made on what's true right now. And the last one is the higher error rate. So industry standard manual operations run at 80 to 85% inventory accuracy, meaning 15 to 20% of what's in your system is potentially wrong. And after we've implemented a proper barcoding system, consistently those hit 99% accuracy or better. So right away you got that 15 to 20% back, and all of that data entry is correct. And finally, paper workflows become mobile operations, which is exactly where we go next. And step 3 of the journey is mobility. This is one of the most important shifts on the entire journey, and a lot of companies underestimate it. For decades, operations software has lived at the office desk. The warehouse staff did the work, the office staff entered the data. That gap between where the work happens and where the data lives is where errors are born, where delays multiply, where information gets lost. Mobile workforce enablement closes that gap. The system moves to where the work is. The picker, the receiver, the supervisor, they all have the system in their hand on a mobile device right at the point of action. And once that happens, something fundamentally changes. The warehouse stops being a black box that periodically reports back to the office. The warehouse becomes part of the system itself. Every action on the floor is in real time and an action in the system. And here's what that real time connection actually delivers. Let's take a look at that. Every scan in a mobile enabled operation updates 4 things at the same time. Inventory counts shift the moment items move. Orders, the status of every open order reflects what's actually happening to it. Stock movement, every transfer between locations, every put away, every pick, everything is captured. And finally, warehouse status. At any moment, anyone with the right access can see exactly what state the operation is in. And this is what real time operations means in practice. Not a dashboard that refreshes every hour, not a report you pull at the end of the day. Live data, updating as the work happens, available to everyone who needs it, right when they need it. That visibility is the foundation that everything else gets built on. Which brings us to step 4, connecting all of this to the rest of your business. And that is ERP integration. Look at the chain on the screen. We have a warehouse, mobile, ERP, analytics. This is the ecosystem. The warehouse generates the data, the mobile layer captures it, the ERP connects it to the rest of the business, so accounting, sales, purchasing, customer service, and analytics turns it into insight. Without ERP integration, your warehouse automation is a silo. It might work brilliantly on its own, but the sales team doesn't see the stock changes. The finance team is still working with delayed data. The procurement team can't see real demand. The value is trapped. With ERP integration, that warehouse data flows everywhere it's needed. A sale on the website immediately knows whether stock is available. An incoming purchase order automatically generates a receiving workflow. A picked and shipped order automatically updates the customer record and the invoice. This is where automation stops being a tool and becomes the operating system of your whole business. And let me show you what a connected ecosystem actually looks like. Let's take a look at that. And a truly connected ecosystem links 5 things together. And once you've got all 5 connected, you've got something quite powerful. So as we talked about, let's kind of dissect it a little bit more here. Warehouse. Of course, we all know the physical operation where the goods actually live and move. The ERP system, the central nervous system or the back end of the business where finance, sales, and procurement live. Mobile workforce, the operators on the floor with the system in their hand. Inventory data, the live, accurate record of what you have and where. And of course, business reporting, the tools that let leadership see how it's all performing. When these 5 layers are integrated, the business operates as one system. When they're disconnected, when the warehouse runs on one tool, the ERP doesn't know what the warehouse is doing. The mobile workers are using a separate app. Now you get the problems we talked about in part 1. Lost information, delayed updates, poor visibility. Connection is everything. So what does this look like concretely in a real warehouse. And there are moments where a connected mobile barcode driven ERP integrated operation visibly outperforms a paper one. Um, and there are 6 core workflows that get automated when this all comes together. So, just like we talked about a couple slides earlier, the whole workflow of the warehouse. So, receiving. Truck arrives, the receiver scans the goods, the system matches them against the purchase order, discrepancies are flagged immediately. When they're doing the put away, the system tells the worker exactly where each item belongs to, scans to confirm correct placement. The location data is also live. Then we go to picking when we're at that stage. Orders are released to mobile devices. Optimized routes are calculated. Scans verify every pick. Errors drop to near zero. Then we're packing the product. Final verification before the package actually leaves. The right products, the right quantities, the right batches, etc. Attached to the right order, of course. And then we're doing the shipping. So outbound transactions are confirmed. Customers are notified. The ERP records records the shipment. Accounting can invoice. The whole process is being tracked properly from the moment that the product is coming into the facility to the moment that it goes out. And then we have cycle counting. So when we do need to get everything counted up, instead of stopping operations for a full physical inventory once a year, you can just count small portions continuously all year round, and your inventory stays accurate without disrupting the business. That's automation in practice. 6 workflows, all running cleanly, all connected. And here's what that delivers to the business. That's very important. So when you got everything connected, basically automated operations running, here's what improves. And I would say these aren't theoretical. These are the measured outcomes I've seen in a couple of my colleagues across multiple implementations and multiple facilities as well. Let's break through these ones. Inventory accuracy. It jumps from the 80 to 85% range that we talked about, that paper operations live in, up to 99% or above. That single change cascades into better planning, fewer write-offs, less safety stock, more confident sales commitments. Fulfillment speed increases dramatically. Orders that took half a day to pick now take minutes because the workers aren't searching, checking, or correcting. Employer productivity climbs sharply. The same team can handle 2 to 3 times the volume without adding headcount because they're not fighting the system anymore. And operational control. Leadership goes from reacting to problems after the fact to seeing them as they emerge and adjusting in real time. That's the business case. Let's look at it as numbers. Side by side, manual versus automated. See what that looks like. Quick KPI comparison. So inventory accuracy. I think I was on that slide just a second ago. Oh, there we go. Never mind. So to compare them, manual to automated. Manual operations, 80 to 85%, automated 99. Not a small improvement. That's the difference between a business that knows what it has and a business that's guessing. So we talked about a bit earlier, when we're scaling and when we multiply those numbers, that becomes a huge, huge problem when you have thousands of orders every day. And then order processing, of course, on manual, it's slow. Automated is much, much faster. We're talking about 3 to 5 times improvements in throughput in manual implementations. Error rate on manual, it's huge. Wrong picks, wrong quantities, wrong shipments, and those are just daily occurrences. With automated, the errors become like exceptions worth investigating, not background noise. Usually when those start to happen, you got an issue that needs to be sorted out, and it's not within the system itself. Someone is doing something wrong. Reporting. Manual, of course, is delayed. You know what happened yesterday, maybe last week. With automated, it's real time. So you know what's happening right now. And If you take this table and apply it honestly to your own operation, for each row, ask yourself which side describes your business today. If you're on the left side, for more than one of these four, you have a clear, measurable opportunity in front of you. Before we move to best practices, I want to warn you about some common traps in automation specifically. And I've seen this happen many, many times, so let me save you some pain going forward. So automating broken processes, what does that mean? When the process is fundamentally messy on paper, automating it just makes the mess move faster. Fix the workflows first, then automate it. Otherwise, you're building a faster, broken system. That's a very common thing. Ignoring employee adoption. The team on the warehouse floor has to actually use the new system. If they hate it, they'll find workarounds and your shiny automation becomes shelfware. Involve them early, train them properly, listen to their feedback. Also seen this one many, many times. Poor integration planning. If your warehouse automation can't talk to your ERP or e-commerce or your accounting, you've just built another silo. Integration isn't an afterthought, it's the whole point. So you definitely want to make sure that whatever system you are implementing, it doesn't matter, it could be a CRM system, could be a WMS system, any that we've talked about today. You always got to make sure that you're thinking of the integration capabilities going forward, because we've seen that lots of times where someone has like a business has a great ERP system, a great WMS system, but since they're not communicating with each other, that creates a lot of friction and actually breaks their whole automation journey. So we've got to make sure on the integration capabilities are there between all the systems that we go for. And lastly, I want to mention here is choosing non-scalable systems. So kind of goes hand in hand with the integration point that I made, but also, yeah, the cheapest option today often locks you into a ceiling you'll hit within 12 months. Choose a platform that can grow with you. So just like I mentioned with the integration, this system has to scale with you. So across more users, more locations, more workflows, you're not hitting that ceiling. So these quick 4 common mistakes, if you avoid them, you've already outperformed most automation projects I've seen. Yeah, honestly, that's it. So make sure to take that home with you. Now, here's what success actually looks like. Let's take a look at that. And I have 5 practices here on the slide. So start with one workflow. Don't try to automate everything at once. Pick the workflow where the pain is the loudest, where you hear it the most, usually receiving or picking, and nail it. Then expand from that. Use pilot projects before rolling out across the whole operation. Test it in one section, maybe one warehouse, maybe one shift. Learn the lessons cheaply. Train teams early, just like I mentioned on earlier slides. The actual team that's going to be using the system, they need to be comfortable with it before going live, not figuring it out under pressure. So build training into the timeline, not at the end of it. Focus on scalability. So once again, think about where you want to be in 2 or 3 years, not just where you are today. The decisions you make now will either enable that future or fight against it, unfortunately. And as we talked about KPIs, you want to measure those continuously. Automation is not a project you finish, it's an operating model you maintain. Track the numbers we talked about and keep improving. And once you've mastered automation, here's where the journey continues. Let's take a look at that. And I want to spend a quick moment here because the journey doesn't stop at automation. The next decade is going to look very different from the last one, but only for businesses that have already built the foundation. Now, let's talk about a couple of things here. I briefly mention them as we started today's session. So RFID, reading hundreds of items at once without line of sight, without scanning each one individually, already being deployed in retail, apparel, and high-value distribution. Very great technology, but it needs to be implemented at a proper business that has the foundation ready. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. AI analytics, patterns in your operational data that no human would catch. So productive insights, automatic anomaly detection, optimization suggestions. Very, very huge. IoT sensors, real-time monitoring of temperature, humidity, equipment status, vehicle location. The operation generates data continuously, not just at scan points. So I think you all understand where we're going with this. Predictive inventory, knowing what you will need before you actually need it. Less safety stock, fewer stockouts, faster cash cycles. And smart warehouses. All of this stitched together into operations that essentially run themselves, with humans handling exceptions instead of routine tasks. None of this is possible without the foundation we've talked about. RFID, AI, IoT devices, they all assume you've already done the work of automation. And let me show you the maturity model that ties this all together. And this is the full path on one slide: paper, digital, barcode, mobile, intelligent operation. 5 stages. Most companies live somewhere in the middle of this map. They've gone digital, but partially. They've adopted barcodes in some processes. They've put some mobility in place, but they're not fully at intelligent operations. Um, but they're not at paper anymore either. So it's kind of in the middle. The single most useful exercise you can do after this webinar is to honestly pinpoint where your business sits on the scale. Not where, again, you'd like it to be, but be truthful to yourself. Just check it out where it actually is right now, today. Because the next step is always clear when you know your current position. So when you know exactly what's going on right now, where are you on the scale today? You can drop a comment here as well. Paper, digital, barcode, mobile, intelligence. Interesting to see what everyone's using. But yeah, that's that. And here's why moving up this scale matters beyond just efficiency. A lot of automation conversations get framed around efficiency. Doing the same work but cheaper. That's true, but it's a small part of the picture. The real strategic value is here. Scalability. The business can grow without proportionally growing complexity. You can double your volume without doubling your headcount. Operational resilience. When something goes wrong, a shipment delay, a supplier issue, a sudden spike in demand, you see it clearly and respond in real time instead of finding out 3 days later. And then faster growth. New product lines, new locations, new channels can be launched and integrated quickly because the operational backbone supports it. Better customer experience, accurate stock data, faster fulfillment, real-time order status. These turn into customer loyalty. And of course, competitive advantage. When your competitors are still managing chaos on paper and you're operating with full visibility, you can outprice them, outserve them, and outgrow them. Efficiency is the entry ticket. These 5 are the actual prize. But, and this is important, none of this happens just because you buy technology. And let me expand on that a little bit. And this is probably one of the most important slides in this presentation. Technology by itself doesn't solve anything. And I've seen companies buy excellent software, spend a lot of money on hardware, as I mentioned earlier, and still fail because they treated automation as a purchase, not a transformation. You can't shortcut this. What actually works is 4 things. Connected workflows. The processes themselves have to be designed to flow end to end, not just patched piece by piece. Scalable platforms, software that grows with you, doesn't lock you in, doesn't break when you add a new warehouse or a new region. ERP integration, so that the data flows where it needs to flow. And operational visibility, so leadership can actually see what's happening and make better decisions. Get those 4 right, and the technology you choose will deliver. Get them wrong, and even the best technology in the world won't save you. So with that in mind, let me show you the platform we built at Cleverence to deliver exactly this. And here's what we offer. Let's take a look at that. Cleverence is a platform that is built around the idea that On this platform, this one platform should serve every part of an operations-driven business. So we have 5 product lines, and the right one for you depends on what you do. Inventory. It's our core inventory management product for any business that needs to track stock accurately across warehouses with mobile-first workflows. Store ops. For retail, stock counts, price changes, receiving, label printing, all done on the floor with the mobile device in the staff member's hand. Delivery ops for distribution and last mile delivery, route management, proof of delivery, mobile signatures, real-time tracking. Factory ops for manufacturing, tracking work in progress, raw materials, finished goods with operations data flowing back to the ERP system. And assets for tracking high value or critical assets across multiple locations, tools, equipment, IT hardware, anything you need to keep visibility on. Each one runs on standard Android mobile devices, so you can deploy on hardware you already have or on rugged scanners built for industrial environments. The image on the right shows what the screen actually looks like. It's clean, simple, focused on the actions a warehouse worker needs to take. So what should you actually be looking for in a platform? Let's take a look. Whether you end up working with us or with someone else, here are the 6 things to look for in any platform you evaluate. The right platform combines execution, validation, integration, and scalability, just like how we talked about today. So mobile workflows for real operations, not just an app that reports back to a desktop tool, but an operating environment for the workers on the floor. Embedded business logic. The rules of your operations are inside the software itself. So the system enforces them instead of relying on memory. And online and offline support, another big one. Warehouses have dead zones, refrigerated areas with poor signal, remote locations. The system has to keep working when connectivity drops. Fast integration with enterprise systems. Connecting to your ERP, just like we talked about, your e-commerce, your accounting, they all should be a known process, not a custom engineering project. Flexibility across multiple use cases, another big one. Same platform should serve your warehouse, your stores, your delivery, your factory, not 5 different tools that don't actually talk to each other, preferably. And control, visibility, and growth potential. As we talked about, scalability. The platform should give leadership the visibility they need today and the room to scale into tomorrow. These 6 are the checklists. Run them against any vendor you're considering. It will help you out. Let me show you what the final system actually looks like when it all comes together. I've seen this a couple of times now, but it's a really good representation. So on the left, the warehouse worker. On the right, the office. So on the warehouse side, 5 things are happening at once. No paperwork. Everything that used to be on a clipboard is on the mobile device, a convenient mobile workplace where the worker has everything they need in their hand with both hands free for the actual work. On-site verification. Every scan validates a transaction the moment it happens, right at the point of action. No going back to the office to check. Now, on the office side, remote supervision, big one. Managers see exactly what's happening on the floor without having to walk it themselves. Real-time data exchange. The moment something happens in the warehouse, it's instantly reflected in the ERP system. Accurate ERP document status, another huge one. Every purchase order, sales order, transfer document reflects what's actually happening, not what was reported at the end of yesterday's shift. This is what operations look like when the whole system is connected. No clipboards, no data entry afterward, no where's the slip, no let me check and get back to you, just live, accurate, connected operations from the floor to the back office to the customer. And here's what that looks like financially. Also important to take a look at and compare. This table compares the typical total monthly operational costs of running inventory management at 5 different levels of sophistication for an operation of comparable size. We've ran this one multiple times, but I like bringing it back. It makes a lot of sense when explained properly. So let me break it down. Manual checking. So that's where we have pure paper-based operations. And we're saying the cost is around $10,000 a month. That's the cost of the inefficiency, the errors, the labor overhead, the reconciliation time, the management attention. So 120,000 a year just to stay in chaos. When we move to Excel or Google Sheets, we're dropping that to 8,000 a month. It's of course better than paper, but still highly manual, still error prone, still slow. When we introduce USB barcode scanners connected to a desktop computer, we dropped that cost to about 4,000 a month. Real improvement, but limited to where the desktop is. A basic barcode app, we're now at $2,500 a month. Mobile, but typically with limited workflow logic, limited ERP integration, limited flexibility. And if we're comparing to Cleverence software, we're dropping all that to around $1,000 a month for the same scale operation. That's full mobile workflows, full ERP integration, full business logic, full visibility. And here's the thing I want to be very clear about. So that's a 90% reduction in total operational costs, 9,000 every month or 108,000 every year. This is not the price of the software being 90% cheaper. The software is just part of it. But most of that saving comes from eliminating waste, errors, manual labor, and rework that the lower tiers just don't catch. The platform pays for itself many times over by removing costs from the operation around it. And that is very, very important to know. So what's actually under the hood of the Cleverence platform? There we go. This slide just shows, some technical pillars that make the platform work. And I just want to quickly go through each and every one of them. So mobile and connected devices. So that's smartphones, tablets, rugged handheld scanners, whatever fits your operation. The system runs on standard Android devices. So you're not locked into expensive proprietary hardware that you're just going to be stuck with. On-the-go data entry, access wherever the work is happening. Barcode and RFID technology. We have both. Fast, reliable identification and data capture. Inventory checks that used to take days now take hours. Asset tracking that used to require manual logs is now passive and continuous. The same platform supports both, as I mentioned, so you can start with barcodes and move to RFID when you're ready. And real-time data integration, direct connection to your existing ERP system. The data flows both directions, so actions on the floor update the ERP immediately, and ERP changes are reflected on the mobile devices, so vice versa. The platform doesn't replace your ERP, it makes it real-time. And last but not least, customizable workflows. Every business is different. The platform lets you configure workflows to match how your business actually operates, not force you to operate the way the software assumes. Receiving in your warehouse can look different from receiving in another, and that's fine. And most of the time, it is like that. Everything is different usually at each and every warehouse. So 4 pillars together, they form the engine that makes automation actually work in real world operations, just like how we talked about today. And here's how we actually get from interested to implement. So if you decide to move forward or even just explore, this is what the path looks like with us. It's pretty straightforward. No high pressure sales process. So let's walk through a couple of these steps. So pre-sale brief, pick a time, share your project details, your goals, your context. We listen first. And just like how I briefly mentioned a couple of slides before, if you need help figuring out where that biggest pain point in your operation is, please reach out. I can also help. Then we join the chat as a step 2. You get a dedicated project manager, direct communications with them, no call center, no ticket queue, a real person who actually knows your specific project. Then we do a demo if it's necessary. If your timeline is within the next couple of weeks, we'll do a hands-on demo, of one of our relevant product, configured specifically for your scenario, not a generic slideshow, a real walkthrough of how this would work in your environment. Then we do a commercial offer. Obviously, everything has got to be scoped, but after that, we give you a personalized proposal based on, again, the scope, the timeline, the hardware needs, and the integration work if it's there. Transparent pricing, there's no surprises. Step 5, project implementation. After we agree on everything, the project kicks off. Configuration, integration, training, go live, all with that same dedicated project manager guiding the process. And much, much quicker than you can imagine. That's it. 5 steps, no commitment to start. And now let me show you what this looks like when it actually plays out on our quick case study here, the one that we like, APMG. Because their situation is, once again, is very relevant to a lot of the audience. And people can recognize some of the issues that they had. So they are a spare parts e-commerce distributor based in Dubai, 100,000 SKUs, serious operation. And here's one thing. They didn't come to us because they had a bad ERP. They had a good ERP system, a custom-built one, configured specifically for their business. Their problem was different, and it's one I see all the time. The ERP knew what they had. It just didn't know where it was. Like, it just didn't suggest the locations and everything properly. So think about that for a second. Their ERP could tell them with perfect accuracy how many of a given windshield or alternator or oil filters they had in stock. But when an order came in for that part, the picker had to walk into the warehouse and physically search for it. The system gave them the quantity, but not the actual location, once again. The address storage logic at the ERP level. No location by location stock map, just totals. And in warehouse with 100,000 SKUs, that gap is enormous because we're spending most of their day walking and searching. Errors happen constantly. The picker would grab something that'll look right, but it actually wasn't. Orders got delayed, customer satisfaction dropped, and as the operations grew, the gap only got worse. So that's where we stepped in. We didn't replace their ERP, we extended it. Cleverence added the location-aware layer that the ERP was missing. So every shelf, every bin, every cell got a unique address. Every product got linked not just to quantity, but to a specific location. And every mobile device in the warehouse, we deployed 17 of them, by the way, became a tool that knew exactly where to send the worker for every task. Receiving became guided. The system tells the worker which cell to put the new stock in. Picking became guided. The system, of course, now knows where everything is and is able to give the optimal route through the warehouse to collect the order. And of course, the stock counts became continuous and accurate because the system knew exactly what should be where. The results, 4 times improvement in inventory turnover, the same warehouse, the same SKUs, but moving 4 times faster. And that 99% reduction in errors, just like we talked about. And a foundation that lets them scale farther without rebuilding. That's a real story. They didn't need a new ERP. They needed the warehouse to know where things were. And once it did, everything else followed. Before we wrap it up, so just like we talked about, we had for everyone today just a quick PDF guide that's going to be sent out today to you. If you're trying to make the internal case for automation in your business, this guide is the tool that will help you do it. So just how I talked about it earlier, something that you can kind of take a look at, browse through, and understand where there might be some gaps that you can already fix today and move forward into the future with your business and scale properly without those bottlenecks and chaos that is going to essentially come through later at a later stages. So, and finally, let me quickly go through how to reach me. So, quick closing statement. If anything in today's session resonated with you, if you recognize your operation in the paper-based problems or in the APMG story or anywhere on that maturity model, I genuinely want to hear from you. So again, we're not trying to sell you something, just trying to have an honest conversation about what fit would look like for your business and what implementation would actually involve. Because there's a lot of times that we have businesses come to us that already have everything set up properly. They have a really good foundation, and it's just a matter of a quick project that is, going to span in a couple of weeks, and then they already got the automation layer going on with mobile workflows. So yeah, you can reach me in a couple of different ways. There's my phone number, there's the WhatsApp, my email, my Telegram. You can actually just scan the QR code as well. And of course, website cleverence.com. We have a full product portfolio, case studies, documentation, demo requests, even a quick trial that you can do for free. It's all there. So thank you all for your time today. I will still stay on it, for in case there are a couple of questions, and just so you have my contacts there on the slide. But that's about it for me. Once again, thank you all for joining me today who have been here. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to the next one. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. Have a great time of day. All right, cheers. Bye.